Welcome back to another midweek episode of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Hines, as per usual, and I'll just do a quick recap of what these midweek episodes are all about. So midweek episodes are an opportunity for you to hear what I'm up to, hear what I'm working on, and what's on my mind in a way that we really just can't do during the weekday or the weekend episodes. So the weekend episodes are about interviews. The weekday episodes, when we do them, which has been pretty darn consistent for the last few months, is really just about going on, talking about what I'm up to. So I'm going to continue on that theme. So last week we were talking about the book. That was great. Thank you to everybody who bought a copy, digital and paperback. We hit bestseller on both, and it was a really fun ride. It's kind of cool to be able to say, hey, I'm a best-selling author, even if it was brief. We're still on the charts, but I don't think we're sitting at number one on anything anymore. But for that moment, we were, and I think that's a huge accomplishment, and we're super grateful. So thank you very much to everybody that helped us. If you still have not picked up a copy and you'd like to, the book is called Real Estate Titans: Tools, Tactics, and Wisdom for Real Estate Wealth. So for Canadian real estate wealth. I don't have it right in front of me here. But you could search that on Amazon. And then I am working slowly. I'm plugging away at the Audible version. We were toying with a couple different ways of getting it done, including hiring a voice actor. But I thought it'd be really cool, especially for my podcast listeners, if I read the book. And that's not something I have experience doing, but I'm doing story time and reading the book and slowly working my way through that. So stay tuned for that. I figure we're probably a couple of months out on launching the Audible version, but I know so many people reached out to me and said, I can't wait to listen to it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it. I hear you. So we'll get working on that. So I am working. I have a few chapters already recorded. There's some editing involved and kind of fun for me because I like nerding out on that stuff. I've played in bands and what have you. You can see the gear I have. This is stuff that's sort of left over from band, and we still do that kind of thing too. So, all right. So what's going on? It is Wednesday, and what's the date? The 5th, June 5th, as I record this. So the day you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on the Thursday, would be the next day. Interest rate announcement for Bank of Canada. They're down a quarter point. And so I want to give the flip side of this, because I think one of the great things about this is so many people have been so afraid for so long, and their purse strings have been so tight, and the sentiment on real estate investing's changed a bit. I think that potentially this podcast stands to benefit, and a few more listeners are popping up now that the sentiment's going to shift back a bit with this rate decrease, at least a bit. I don't know how much. And then the other thing that of course is going to happen is people are actually going to start buying more. So it could have upward pressure on some real estate values. We will see. I mean, it's a quarter point. It's not huge. I saw a little bit of a discussion going on as to could the rate cutting trend continue and how far will it go? And I've said this, I've been saying this for a long time. What we will do truly depends on what the US does. So Canada has to function in lockstep. If our interest rates drop too much below the U.S. interest rates, then investors lose interest, no pun intended, in Canada. So effectively what that does is it will cause Canadian goods to inflate. It will make the Canadian dollar worth less because there's less demand for the Canadian dollar. Like when there's more demand, so if outside foreign investment is more interested in Canadian investments, they drive demand for the dollar. Driving demand for the dollar pushes the cost of the dollar up, which keeps our buying power as Canadians strong to buy from, say, the US and other countries. So there's an inflationary effect for the more and more we go out of line with the U.S. The U.S. being the world reserve currency still for now, the more out of line we are, if we drop rates and they don't, that actually has a negative effect. So there's only so far the Canadian government's going to go with the rate cutting without having basically the opposite effect of what they want. They're going to drop interest rates and then actually see inflation just spiral. So they can only go so far until the U.S. follows suit. And why wouldn't the U.S. follow suit? Well, they wouldn't follow suit because the economy in the U.S. is doing much better. They're not in an economic recession. Their GDP per capita is still rising, whereas Canadian GDP per capita has been falling. So not to go too deep on that rabbit hole, but take the win, I would say. It's nice to see something that would happen that would restore some sentiment, and keep people moving in the direction of buying and selling and investing in things, because that's just good for all real estate investors, in my opinion. Not to say that there's not an opportunity when everybody's fearful, and there has been, and lots of people have capitalized on that, which good for you if that's you. All right. What else is going on? So we have the interest rate change. That's big news. CMHC MLI Select program came out with some new announcements now. So prior to this, prior to this and after their last announcement, they actually restricted it so that if you wanted to buy a multifamily building and refinance it, so do renovations with private mortgages and all that and refinance it, you wouldn't be able to do it. You would have to refinance with a approved institution for 2 years first, and then you could refinance into the MLI Select program. Well, they've removed all those restrictions. One thing I've been told that they did do is now you can no longer reach 100 points to get that 50-year amortization with energy efficiency alone. You have to add in some affordability or accessibility. If it were me, I'd be thinking accessibility is probably better than affordability, because affordable units mean like you have to rent them less than market rent. There's a case for all of them. So I spoke with Zach Wilms, who's a commercial realtor that works out of my office, and he's often on REI Hot Seat. So he's one of the guys that's going to be a regular on that show now. And he was telling me that they're super pumped. Like, appraisers are crazy busy right now. They're trying to beat the deadline. Some people want to get into the old program, so they're trying to get stuff done before June, I think, 19th. And then other people want to get their applications in after and take advantage of this new program. So I from what I hear, people are pretty optimistic. So from a news standpoint, pretty positive week for real estate investors. I'll say that, or at surface level, it seems like a positive week. So anyways, that's the wrap for that stuff. Now I'll get into what I'm working on. So people who follow me know that the two big things I got going on outside of like the podcast and just being a dad and what have you is I've got my Florida business, and then I've got my Tobermory hospitality businesses. And the Tobermory stuff is ripping. So we're actually in the process of finalizing our issuance of a new class of shares where we're going to be raising from investors, and we're going to be offering a pretty sweet targeted return, and which we think, like, we're super like high on what we can do. And I think it's a very conservative estimate, but basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be raising about 1.5 million to add amenities and do several improvements to our site at our primary glamping site facility at Grotto Getaway. So if you look up at the Grotto Getaway Glamp on Instagram or grottogetaway.com, you can check that out. And we're going to be adding a number of more units. So everything from trailers, we're going to be adding more tents, domes. The biggest thing and the most exciting thing is amenities. So our plan is to add in some, what we're thinking is a container pool, hot tub, sauna, as much as we can get in there, and if we can squeeze it in, a pickleball court. So these are some of the things we're playing with right now. We are going to be restricted in our budget. We're gonna stretch that money as far as we can, but where our opinion is this: like, we've accomplished something pretty insane and a pretty insane growth, having absolutely no amenities on site. We don't have direct water access. We don't have a kids playground for multiple reasons, including liability. We are really the grill and chill place. Like, you come, you have a fire, you roast some marshmallows, what have you. You enjoy the quiet and the peace. Like, we're very much, that's our selling point, and I think our customer base really likes that. We can only stand to benefit from adding in things to do on site, which now we can turn some of our 2-night stays into like 3-4 night stays potentially, and get people wanting more. And if the same amount of people still want to book with us, but everybody's staying a couple extra nights, or generally we average one more night per stay, like, what that allows us to do is increase our prices, reduce our vacancy, do a number of things. Like, we're not really ever vacant much. Our vacancy in July and August is next to nothing. And then of course we have some vacancy in June, and obviously more in May. We have vacancy in September and October, but the weekends are still hot. So during the summer though, it's like all the time. We're generally always busy. which we want to take advantage of that. So if we can get those longer stays, we can price higher because there's effectively more demand. So that's what we're working on doing. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned, because I will be talking about it more. You can also opt in on my Instagram. I have a link where you can join my private investors list. So we'll blast out details. Like, we have to clear everything with the exempt market dealer, so we're not saying anything we shouldn't be saying, that old chestnut. But as soon as we know what we can say, we would distribute that information and have you contact the exempt market dealer for specifics. Because one of the big things that I've gleaned, we're not allowed to talk about whether an investment is appropriate for somebody. That's an exempt market dealer, so we would defer to them. So anyways, but I could certainly tell you all about what we're doing and how excited we are about it, the growth we've seen, all that stuff. It's been a fun ride, a lot of work, but we're really excited to see a lot of things clicking in ways that we've never seen before. Like, we have one trailer right now that's got about $15,000 in bookings. It did like 15,000 in all of last year. So like, just its average booking days are 70 days in advance. Like, that's wild stuff in my opinion. So we're really excited about what we've been able to do there, and we're going to further optimize. So anyways, so that covers that. And I'll share more details about that as we go, as the summer progresses, because this is the exciting time. Like, meetings, the one negative, which is not really a negative, but I'm not a fan of meetings, and I find myself having so many of them. Team meetings is the main thing, like our different teams. Like, I have my own internal teams for social, with my assistant, and then we've got our team with the camp. We've got our teams with the Florida acquisitions, which is what I'm going to talk about now. So that's the one thing. So I just have to budget more time for meetings, which, they are productive. It's just I'm the guy that just likes to get work done. Okay, so the Florida stuff, for those of you who've been following me, you know that Matt Piche and I have been doing off-market acquisitions, and we basically have rolled out what is now a $15,000 a month spend US dollars, spend on cold callers and lead generation. So we generated about 90 leads last week alone, and what's getting absolutely insane is, not yesterday. Well, was it yesterday? Yeah, I signed 4 or 5 different offers yesterday, and not everybody accepts them. Like, we have our team making offers and they circulate to me to sign my signature on them. So these are generally deals that I don't really know anything about. Like, our first step is to get them conditional, and then I'll review. And of course, our team knows how to do their own due diligence. So that's been our process, but we've been locking more and more up. I was talking about a deal that was supposed to close today last week, and we've had to get an extension on that because the neighbor blocked access to the property. So, it's what's that? Murphy's Law? What can go wrong will go wrong. I mean, we're hitting like this critical mass where it won't really matter soon enough, but we've hit a lot of snags. This deal I very much still believe is going to close, but we're going to have to get a survey first. So we're dealing with the seller's lawyer, and he's super nice, super reasonable guy. We're talking directly with him, no problems there. And we're just trying to figure out what they can do, because we just want to get access. We just want to make sure, because they're obviously wanting us to pay for the survey, and we don't even want a survey. This land is not buildable; it's recreational land, so we just need access. We don't need a survey. That's not really of concern. But we're just in that negotiation. If it costs us, I mean, a survey is a value add anyway. Like, I can show that to an end buyer, so I'm actually okay with it. It does provide a value, say up to like, a few $1,000s. But I don't want to get into bigger spends than that. So we're just working through that one. But the nice thing is, like, when you have enough deals, like, you keep filling the top of the funnel, you don't get so upset when you have these hiccups, right? Because we got a lot of stuff going on, and we've had deals come back to life that seemed dead. That's actually happening more and more. Like, this old stuff that seemed like it wasn't going to work out, all of a sudden it comes back around, and that's one of the nice benefits we're seeing now. So we got the team rearing. I think we're at 6 acquisitions managers right now, if I'm not mistaken, and everybody's in a pretty good groove. We had a new girl come onto our team last week and signed up a deal with an apparent 180,000-ish profit before realtor fees. So maybe after realtor fees in the 140, 130 range. That's a pretty good first week. So things are really starting to click in a big way. And if you follow Matt's Instagram, obviously Matt's far louder than I am. I obviously need to do a little work on my social media frequency, but Matt shares stuff all the time, so guys, make sure you're following him. And then of course, if you want to invest in what we're doing, he has a list that he is keeping for that one as well. So if you want to be one of our lenders on our deals, so the MO there is we buy at 50 cents on the dollar for land, sometimes even better than that. Like we've had a couple of juicy ones come up lately. We have an island under contract. I don't know if that one's going to fly. We got an opinion on that island. It could be, worth $550 and we got it for $175, but I don't like unique. I'm not a big fan of unique. So I like to hedge my bets a little bit better than that. So anyways, like I said, 50 cents on the dollar is generally what we're coming up with for the land. And on the houses, anywhere from 60 to 70, case dependent, price point dependent. If I'm getting into the higher price point properties, I actually prefer an assignment. We don't typically assign, or we're not looking to assign, but the one that we tied up last week with our new girl, we're actually probably going to go ahead and just assign that. We already has a buyer lined up through our the realtor contact we have. And I would consider that a massive win. That one deal will pay for all of our marketing to date and put a bunch of profit in Matt and I's pocket. And now everything else we're doing is just gravy on top of that. So it's a great position to be in, I think. Like, I'm trying to stay as optimistic as I can. I will tell you the grind is real. There's a lot of work into this. And then, of course, you got to be super comfortable spending a ton of money, which we've done. We're at like $45,000 spent now. So fifth cold caller just started. So anyways, that's a little bit about what we're working on. Obviously it's not just a real estate play, it's a business play, a marketing play. But I made the resolution to myself that I thought in the current market, the best skill I could find, the best skill I could have would be to be really good at off-market acquisition and buying less than market value. And, that's why I'm grateful that Matt and I were already sort of friends. He'd been on the podcast. We both have kids around the same age, and we hung out a bit, got to chatting. And when this all came up, it was just like, that's a perfect fit. Because, finding somebody who has experience in an area where I have like less experience, that actually allows me to, that's the whole 1 + 1 = 5 = 8. It doesn't just equal 2, because we can put our heads together, and it's been fun so far. So it's good if you can do something you enjoy for income. So that's the direction we're headed. And like I said, I think it's cool that we have this opportunity that I can share what's going on, share what we're working on. If you have any feedback, things you have questions on, or you want to learn more, you can feel free to send me an email, andrew@andrew-hines.com. And you can also just reach out to me on Instagram @theandrewhines. So thanks a lot, guys. I will see you on the weekend episode. Until then, show the channel some love, and I'll see you then.